Have you ever started whistling a tune at home, only to hear someone immediately say, "Don't whistle or you'll lose all your money"? Many of us have known this warning since childhood. People say it so confidently that it almost seems as if there really is an invisible connection between a simple whistle and an empty wallet. You may not believe in omens. You may laugh at superstitions and consider yourself a completely rational person. Yet you may still feel the urge to stop someone who starts whistling indoors. But why whistling? Why not singing, laughing loudly, or clapping your hands? How did a sound created by air passing through the lips become a threat to money and household prosperity? To understand the origins of this superstition, we must return to a time when whistling was considered more than a harmless human pastime. To our ancestors, it resembled the voice of a force that could not be seen but could easily be felt. The voice of the wind. Today, we see wind as an ordinary natural phenomenon. We know that it is caused by the movement of air masses. But to people in the past, a sudden gust of wind was mysterious and unpredictable. It could bring long-awaited rain, help a ship continue its journey, or fill the air with coolness. But the same wind could destroy crops, tear off a roof, extinguish a fire, and turn a calm sea into a deadly force. Wind itself could not be seen. Only its traces were visible. Swaying trees, swirling dust, ripples on the water, and doors that suddenly began to creak. It is hardly surprising that many cultures imagine the wind as a living force, capable of hearing people, answering them, and even granting their requests. Whistling sounded remarkably similar to the howling of the wind. This gave rise to the belief that people could use it to summon the elements. To whistle was like speaking to the wind in its own language. Outdoors, this was not always considered a bad thing. Sailors trapped in a dead calm, for example, might whistle in the hope of summoning the wind and filling their sails again. During a storm, however, whistling was considered dangerous. People believed it could anger the elements and make the storm even stronger. On ships, whistling also served a practical purpose. A special boatswain's whistle was used to give orders to the crew. Its high-pitched sound could be heard above the crashing sea, creaking timber, and strong wind. Different signals represented different commands. An accidental whistle could therefore be mistaken for an order and disrupt the crew's work. A home, however, was a very different kind of place. To ancient people, a home was more than walls and a roof. It was a small, protected territory separated from the dangerous outside world. Beyond the threshold lay forests, cold weather, predators, strangers, and unpredictable forces of nature. Inside the home, a fire burned, food was stored, children slept, and the family gathered together. Allowing the wind inside meant disturbing that protection. Even today, we speak of throwing money to the wind. The wind carries away anything that is not firmly secured, scatters smoke, and spreads out whatever has been gathered. Whistling, because it sounded like the wind, could symbolically blow everything valuable out of the home. Warmth, food, peace, good fortune, and eventually, money. But there was also a darker explanation. According to folk beliefs, whistling could summon more than just the wind. People believed that creatures that normally remained invisible might respond to the sound. Forest spirits, evil forces, and the souls of the dead could supposedly hear a human whistle and come to the person calling them. Whistling at night was considered especially dangerous. When everything became quiet, the sharp sound traveled far and seemed strange, almost inhuman. In the darkness, it was impossible to know who had whistled or where the answering sound had come from. Sometimes wind passing through cracks in walls, a chimney, or tree branches created a sound resembling a long, distant whistle. A person would whistle once, and a few seconds later, hear a similar sound outside. Today we might explain it as an echo, the wind, or a bird. But centuries ago, that response could easily be mistaken for the voice of a creature that had accepted the invitation. If you whistled in a forest, you could simply leave. But whistling at home meant revealing your location to the evil forces outside. It was as if you were personally showing them the way to your hearth. In Slavic folklore, every home had its own invisible master, the Domovoy. He was believed to be the guardian of the family, the household, and domestic order. If the residents cared for their home, avoided quarrels, and respected its rules, the Domovoy might help them. But if the home was filled with disorder, noise, and constant conflict, The spirit was said to become angry, hide belongings, frighten animals, and disturb people while they slept. Whistling could be seen as an insult to the Domovoy. According to one version, the sharp sound irritated him. According to another, it drove him out of the house. If the guardian abandoned the home, order, good fortune, and prosperity supposedly disappeared with him. This does not mean that the superstition originated entirely from belief in the Domovoy. It has no single author, date, or definitively proven origin. Folk prohibitions developed gradually. Their explanations changed, merged, and were passed down to later generations in new forms. The original warning may have sounded something like this: "Do not whistle inside the house because you will disturb the spirits or summon the wind." Over time, however, such explanations stopped frightening people as much as they once had. But almost everyone is afraid of losing money. And so the ancient prohibition acquired a more understandable consequence. If you whistle, no money will remain in the house. The idea of whistling your money away was simple, vivid, and easy to remember. It was as if the whistle created an invisible current of air that blew coins from a person's wallet and carried them out through the window. Money also became a universal symbol of household prosperity. In the past, wealth was measured by stores of grain, the number of animals a family owned, the amount of food in the pantry, and the warmth of the home. Later, all of these things were replaced by one easily understood symbol: money. The loss of luck, harvests, and supplies could therefore gradually become a warning of financial poverty. But the prohibition may also have had a completely practical origin. Imagine a small peasant home where people cooked, worked, talked, rested, and put their children to sleep in the same room. Loud whistling in such a space was not a harmless melody. It was a sharp and irritating noise. It could frighten a child, disturb the animals, wake someone who was sleeping, or interrupt an important conversation. Simply telling a child, "Don't whistle because it is annoying," was not always enough. But warning them that they would whistle away all the family's money and leave everyone poor was much more effective. Many old superstitions may have served exactly this purpose. They established rules of behavior in a form that was easy to remember and frightening to break. Do not sit on the table. Do not play with fire. Do not stand in the doorway. Do not go outside alone at night. Each prohibition was given a frightening consequence, even though the real reason may have been practical and entirely rational. Interestingly, attitudes toward whistling could be completely different from one place to another. In some regions, it was seen as a way to summon the wind. Elsewhere, it was considered an invitation to spirits. In other places, people used whistling as protection against evil. In the past, they carried whistles, bells, and rattles because they believed sharp noises could frighten away invisible forces. This creates a strange contradiction. The same sound could both summon spirits and drive them away. But such contradictions are normal in folklore. Folk beliefs do not form a single system governed by clear rules. They developed in different places, at different times, and under different circumstances. The meaning depended not only on the sound itself, but also on who was whistling, where it happened, and at what time of day. A whistle on a ship could be a command. A whistle in a field could be an attempt to summon the wind. A whistle in a forest could be a dangerous call to an unknown creature. A whistle inside the home could be a violation of peace and order. But why does this superstition still influence us today, when most people no longer believe in wind spirits or an angry Domovoy? Because a superstition does not require sincere belief in its explanation to survive. Imagine that someone whistles at home, and a few days later, their washing machine suddenly breaks down. They have to spend a large amount of money on repairs. They may remember the warning and think, "They told me I shouldn't whistle." If nothing happens after the whistle, the incident is simply forgotten. But one memorable coincidence can strengthen a belief for years. This is the human mind's tendency to notice evidence that confirms an existing belief. We remember events that match our expectations and pay less attention to the times when the prediction failed. The prohibition is also passed down through emotion. When an adult sharply stops a child and frightens them with the threat of poverty, the child does not remember the historical explanation. They remember the feeling of anxiety. They may grow up and stop believing in the superstition, yet still feel uncomfortable whenever they hear someone whistling indoors. and then they repeat the same warning to their own children. Is there any real evidence that whistling can make someone lose their money? Of course not. There is no mystical connection between a sound and a person's financial situation. A whistle cannot open your wallet, cancel your salary, or make money disappear. If unexpected expenses follow, it is only a coincidence. But the superstition itself tells us something important about the past. It preserves an ancient fear of the wind, the idea of the home as a protected space, belief in invisible household guardians, and the ordinary desire of adults to maintain peace and order. The prohibition probably did not appear at one specific moment. It developed gradually, with every generation adding its own explanation. At first, whistling may have been associated with the wind. Later, it became connected to spirits and the loss of a home's protection. And when money became the main symbol of prosperity, the familiar warning appeared: don't whistle, or you'll lose all your money. So whistling really can make you poor, but only if you spend all day whistling instead of working. Were you forbidden from whistling at home? And how was the warning explained to you? The loss of money, the arrival of evil spirits, or the anger of the Domovoy? Tell us in the comments. Perhaps your family has preserved yet another version of this ancient superstition.